All right, we're live. Say hello.
How you doing?
Hey, say hello to the camera. That's where you got
Kamal Hotchandani. Thank you guys for having me here today.
Thank you for having me. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Alex Vidal, president of Related ISG International Realty. And if you can believe it, today's interview with Kamal is episode number 50 of the Closer Club. I always joke around what started off as a small project has taken me across the country a few times, and we are now episode number 50. And I could not think of a better guest than Mr. Kamal here to join us for the episode. So Kamal, thanks again, man.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you for thinking of us.
Who's Kamal? Kamal is the CEO of Haute Media. If you know this magazine, Hot Living. David Grubman, we're coming for you for the Closer Club as well. But there's a lot more than just Hot Living. There's a lot that you're going to learn about, not only media, but social media and how it plays a role in our business, in the real estate business. You ready, Kamal?
Yeah, I am.
All right. Well, let's tell the crew a little bit about who you are. You are a serial entrepreneur from the age of 9. You are now the CEO of Haute Media Group, which includes Hot Living, Hot Time, Hot Residence, Hot Auto, to name a few. Tell us a little bit about your path to becoming CEO.
So, once again, thank you for having us, and super excited about the opportunity. I went to school in the U.S., true American dream. I came here from Belize at the age of 8. Went through and had an IT background when I left college.
Okay.
And through that, I went and I built and sold an IT company that was into international outsourcing. And leaving that, I had a non-compete. So I went into something that was non-traditional, what I knew, and went into traditional media with the goal of building something for digital and social. But I wanted to build an offline brand that people respected the same way they looked at a Rolls Royce or a Louis XIII.
Sure.
So for that demographic and that audience, this July will be our 15th year, July 7th, of me being, creating this project with my business partner.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. So 15 years is like a couple lifetimes in the publishing industry, but our goal was to build an offline brand and then migrate that into the social and the digital world. And as I saw the world trending heavy digital, we wanted to go very personal. So we created an experiential event platform that we hosted this past year about 75 celebrity, high net worth activations to connect the people.
Wow. And we're going to talk a lot today about connections and about how you handled the social media.
Yeah.
Where did you go to college?
Boston University.
Nice.
I was educated in New England, went to prep school in Connecticut at Avon and BU, and then segued down to Miami for the weather and my family having some real estate here. So
I have to ask the question, Patriots or Dolphins?
Dolphins for life.
All right. Oh, there you go. Good job. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Well, no, we're a huge fan of, first of all, been a lifelong fan, but also a big fan of Steve Ross as an entrepreneur and the fact that he's giving all the resources for our city to try to get it together and have a championship team. So
there you go. Now you reference, and I'm trying to keep my hands off the table because when I do that, the table vibrates and we have the camera on the table. You mentioned that the media game has gone through quite a few changes, and interestingly enough, us in the real estate business are kind of, we're parallel to that. We're seeing a lot of changes in our industry as well. What practices did you use to implement? What practices did you implement to tackle those changes and adapt that with the times that our realtor community can learn from?
So what I wanted to do is, even though we're a traditional media company, my goal was to think like a new media company. What would the next generation of media companies do? So I looked at a few simple litmus tests. I made sure our site was Google News, which means that if you get mentioned in the New York Post, Miami Herald, you get an alert from Google on the top tier. So for the last 10 years, we worked at Google's algorithm and got Haute Living accepted. Then you look at social media. We worked with Instagram, our accounts, which are very few real estate accounts that are verified,
sure.
on Instagram or Haute Time. So we worked with these social media platforms in the earlier stages and said, hey, how can we be recognized as a true pure play? And we came out with a social media dominant, where a lot of our local and national competitors weren't thinking about that. And even still, where media companies twice our size or 5 times haven't been verified or on the Google News platform. So we always try to be a step ahead with that, and monetizing that takes a little bit longer when you're in the earlier stages. So that all has started to catch up now by having a few 100,000 people on our real estate platform, a few 100,000 on the Watch platform. So, and last year we broke 1 million verified followers on our social platforms. Verified, yes. So as everyone on Instagram almost on a daily basis gets hits up on, hey, would you like some more followers, likes, engagements?
All the time.
And you can see someone that has X amount of likes, the next day they have this, and so there's a lot of, in this new landscape, there's a lot of sort of deception of what, people don't know because it's such a new landscape. So we went and said, hey, let's look at these basic fundamentals and how we could be looked at as a new media company with a print component versus, hey, we just want to be in the, dominate the print world. So
now, interesting, right? Because you took those early bets not knowing that Instagram would be what it is, or Twitter, or YouTube maybe, or Facebook. Did you take bets on some that didn't work out?
Well, I'll tell you what happened with that. Our goal was taking the real estate business and making it a little bit sexier and more Hollywood. So one of our first covers was George Perez and George Clooney. Okay. People looked at the developers as slumlords, and they were star architects. And so we went along and said, hey, what Perez is doing for our community, or what Ross is doing for his community, it's bigger than what most businesses do. They're where you eat, where you worship, and master plan that. So seeing that whole evolution with the developers and then the real estate crisis happening, we did a story I remember on Tyra Banks, and this was pre-Instagram, and she had 12 million followers on Twitter, and she tweets our story, and I noticed our traffic has a huge spike. So in about 2010-11, I was like, wow, we need to shift into a little bit more of a celebrity angle, while we were featuring the owner of the New York Giants, or Steve Ross, but them not having the social platforms to push it. And then I went and I said, wow, what I learned from Tyra, I went and I did with DJ Khaled. Okay. Now what I realized, Khaled would do 20 posts, 30 posts, pushing us, tagging us. I'll walk on the street and people say, oh wow, you're the guy on DJ Khaled's Instagram or Snapchat. And I said, oh wow, that's a powerful tool. Because I was actually sitting with Alonzo Mourning in a meeting, and he said, oh, I'm gonna have to take a photo. And the guy said, oh no, I recognize you from DJ Khaled's. And I said, wow, that's a powerful tool now that everyone has a supercomputer in front of their hand, and there's a cost-effective way of disseminating information. But with that being said, with our print publication, hits a certain demographic. So Star Island, Fisher Island, luxury products, they want to have the sensory experience of saying, hey, I'm gonna look at Dora Pugh's listing on Fisher, or I'm going to look at this Hublot watch, or this, this Rolls Royce car. So it gives more of a sensory experience. But at the end of the day, there is more cost-effective ways of disseminating that information, where you push a button and you get there, but it's still not the same sensory experience. So even though we were 90% print at one point, and now we're less than 10% print in the overall landscape of our universe, it still serves to hit that demographic that could buy on Fisher, that could buy and so on. One of the things I learned was partnering with catering companies in the private jet world. So we would pay them, and the catering company is the only one that would make it to the flight each time. Pilots rotate, jet brokers are in different cities. Okay. So I was like, oh wow, and we would get testimonials that, hey, we sold this house in Key Biscayne, and the Rex Hamilton were in, said, hey, they got it through a NetJets. And even though we weren't officially on NetJets, we worked with a kosher caterer that got the product on board the plane. So there is a strong value for that in private aviation, getting that captured audience. But I also recognize at an early stage that we need to really be focused on mobile, which is you're on social media and digital media.
Now, do you find, and this is not on here, but have you found that do the waters get muddled between the people that still like to read the actual hardcover magazine? Are they also transitioning to social media, or are they, hey, magazine is strictly magazine, is a different demographic for the social media side?
I see that the traditional people that every day read that newspaper and still enjoy their Herald or the New York Post, that they have strong allegiance to print, but it's inevitable with X billions of people on Facebook, 500 million daily users, I believe, active users on Instagram. Mm-hmm. So even if they're not actively looking for the content on there, they're running into it in somehow, where we shifted our strategy, where Kevin Hart, for example, has 70 million. When we did the story, he had 63 million followers. So we went and did the story, and he pushed out 4 posts to 60 million people. Alicia Keys, 48 million on Facebook. And friends from boarding school that were just randomly following that lost touch said, hey, wow, we saw you on. So I just saw the power of how social media brought things back together very cost effectively. So we always had a strong, focus of our vision pushing our brand to be recognized.
Well, so let's talk, actually, coincidentally, the next question is about social media. So how has social media played a role in the evolution of your business? And what have you found to be the do's and don'ts of the social media game?
So I think with the do's and don'ts, I think as authentic as you can be with your voice will keep your audience engaged. So I think just being yourself and being smart, unless being yourself is, not a smart lifestyle,
sure.
Because there's elements where you want to portray, your professionalism and so forth. So I do believe that being authentic and having an authentic voice is a key or core part of success and growing. Social things that we did, as I mentioned, is from a business standpoint, I said, hey, I realized that verified accounts had bigger visibility when commenting. They're just stuff that would lead you to get more traffic. And then people realize, hey, if this person is verified the same way that Alicia Keys or Barack Obama is verified, and they're looked at that, there's perceived value. And that's why I said, hey, let's look at what would make us be as a new media company. And some of the real estate firms I see are doing that. Some of the brokers I've seen do that. And we really focus on different verticals. So we have the Haute residents targeting people that do love trophy properties and have a strong real estate interest, or we'll run targeted ads to a Sotheby's or to a Corcoran, and hey, let's foster and build that real estate community targeting the residential. And while building that digital world, we always connect on the personal level. So we have our real estate events throughout the country, honoring a Steve Ross, a Richard Lafrac, bringing in the next generation of power brokers, as well as developers from different markets. So we feel that as important as social media is, you really need that personal connectivity, because so many times you run into a friend and you don't need to catch up, because I know he went to Live, I know he went to Ultra, and said, oh wow, everybody's life, and all that information is already compressed in your head. Is how to parlay that into a business. And for me, that's building a following of hopefully the right audience. There's no real cost or barriers to entry. So if your audience is bigger and you have some people that are not your non-traditional audience, it still doesn't hurt, just based on perception, as well as you never know if that message gets passed to someone else. So I do believe that social media is the future. The don'ts is, trying to be someone you're not. I feel that people could realize that, hey, and that backfires on that person or that brand, for them doing that. Some of the do's, I have leveraged being in the media game, people with large followings, to push our content. So I tie each piece of content to say, hey, a Kevin Hart, a part of our agreement or relationship with them is, hey, we want you on the cover, but besides that, we want you to attend and give us 2 hours of your time at an event to interact, as well as put our content on your social platforms. So advice for anyone out there, if they're working with people that have larger social platforms, or even interacting with other people that have large social platforms, there's a spillover effect of some of their traffic going to you and vice versa. So that collaborative efforts now with this open digital landscape means even more.
And you hope that they share it, right? So we were talking off camera. This is my 50th episode, and the difference in views between, let's say, somebody who doesn't share it, who's famous, not mentioning names, and then you look at, there was a guy I named, his name is Tim Story. He's a life coach to Charlie Sheen, Oprah Winfrey. He shared it, 40,000 views. Christmas Abbott, famous CrossFitter. My wife and I are fans. She was the first woman in NASCAR ever, before Danica Patrick. She shared it, 50,000 views. So you're right, the spillover effect, if you can get somebody to share it, is huge. Now, I love everybody that you're talking about. You mentioned some great names. Actually, one of my favorite podcasts is between Joe Rogan and Kevin Hart. It was hilarious, and he's got to be probably one of the most dynamic and positive guys, at least through camera, that I've ever met. But the mantra out in today's world is the new currency is who you know. The new currency are connections. As you've already kind of referenced, you are known as the master of connections. So what were some of the things you did to be able to get in front of these people?
An element of it is building the right sort of trust. Because one thing we have a unique advantage as a media platform to get in front of the people. And what a lot of the people come back and congratulate us with is saying, hey, we see the consistency you have with these relationships over the years. It's not just, hey, we took a photo and it's another thing. So celebrity clients, friends like an Alicia Keys, it's been a decade plus of, hey, we did a story, but that led to, hey, can you help us with our charity? And we created a partnership with Rolls-Royce that they made a one-of-one Alicia Keys special edition. We auctioned it off, to the benefit of her charity. With Rihanna, we did a similar thing with Louis the 13th, and she sang a song promoting them, inadvertently. And they said, well, no, Jay-Z has his own cognac. And I said, well, no, Rihanna sang about Louis the 13th, and this company made millions, and they want to be able to give back and create a package and do that. So a lot of what it is, we're intertwining pop culture, charity, content, and so forth in, creating these experiences for people. So it's just always a learning process for us, where with these celebrities and with the high net worth, I believe consistency is key. Because it's one thing to meet a person one time and never see them and they disappear. Part of this platform of what we've been building is how can we service these guys in other areas? You want to look at real estate. So a Ludacris, he was turning 40. We tapped into our real estate network and said, hey, he's going to invite all the people from Fast and the Furious. We'll partner with Rolls Royce and have 40 people. So he brings the stars of the show, all qualified people. And the broker's like, wow, this is great. I get to showcase my property. Rolls Royce, they're bringing their customers. Ludacris is inviting his top people, and we're in a home in Atlanta doing that. And, with our mutual friend, Louis Birdman, this past month, we had the Julian Edelman Super Bowl MVP, Stan Wawrinka. So we also managed Derek Jeter, but we actually brought them to 1000 Museum and said, let's shoot the content at this development and showcase to you one of the true jewels of Miami, and saying, okay, hey, this person has the means to buy it and they're looking at retiring and coming to South Florida. And even in these interviews, we're engaging them and telling them, the benefits of moving here, and because we're continuous ambassadors of Miami for what we do. So, to answer that is just that getting in front of them, we had an advantage being a media company over the years, that after we would do something with Will Smith, it became easier to do something with a Kevin Hart. And initially our focus was billionaires and, a George Perez, a Steve Ross, and then without their social media, we evolved. And my core thing was, hey, you meet these masters of the universe, it's a great platform to connect. And then with the celebrities, it became more of a mutual thing that, hey, these guys could promote us and make us more relevant. And when they're about to trend, we kind of give them a boost. So
it's interesting. In its most simplistic form, it's really one hand washing another, and that's how you've been able to really connect with these guys. I'm going to help you, and in turn, me helping you, if you can help me out a little bit, and that's evolved. I mean, really, that's what it sounds like at a very basic level, obviously. Now, you combine your whole media company combines homes, luxury homes, cars, watches, and those really rare experiences, which is one of my questions for you, but. Is there a common denominator among the super rich when they're looking for these things?
So for me, a common denominator within that audience and a lot of people what we work with, and what wasn't mentioned there is philanthropy, because the level of people that we're working with, a lot of the activations we're doing, whether it's Whiteside supporting his his family with the autism, or Alicia Keys or whoever we work with, philanthropy has been a big driver of it. So at times we will tap into it. People say, well, wow, we really see you like working with this brand Hublot. And I said, what I like about certain brands is what they give back to Miami. So I said, when Hublot would write a check to the Heat Foundation that was supporting Jackson or doing that and saying, hey, there's $1 million and we're going next week in Vegas and raising for the WBC, all the boxers that didn't have, Michael Spinks was foreclosed on a year and a half ago.
Really?
So 2012, Hublot created a project, 12 watches with 12 champions robes, Tyson, Lewis, auctioned it. There's the first $1 million too for the foundation. And next week we're doing the same thing. So certain brands that instill those values, and now that we've grown to have the ability of choosing, the right types of partners, those are some of the things we identify. In the luxury world, we know a lot of it is material. So what makes it real for us is tying in these organizations and making it a little bit more meaningful. But we do have the different luxury verticals that we work with, from cars, watches, and one of the other things that there's typically, these are entrepreneurs that are coming and saying, hey, let me buy this, 80, we, assisted recently in the purchase of a $30 million Greenwich home, to a client getting a yacht that was $65 million. So we've become, parts of these transactions. But the thing that I've realized in this audience we build with is their, ability and commitment to giving back.
That's interesting. That's awesome. I love that. Now, talking about the people that amazing opportunities to give back, this whole endeavor of yours has given you an amazing opportunity to interview some of the world's, I mean, you've mentioned some really big names, whether it's celebrities or entrepreneurs and some of the wealthiest people in the world. And you speak to them a lot about Miami. So what do you tell them about what makes Miami so special?
Well, obviously there's some of the basics that we obviously know, the weather, the lifestyle. The thing that I've been getting a lot of people's attention with now, that said, I would never leave New York, I would never leave, where I'm from, LA, California. And I said, you know what, you should just speak to your accountant and do an analysis on what you would have saved in the last 5 years by what you paid in New York, and then look at what that savings would have been to a down payment in a home here, and you would pretty much be in a house here for almost nothing. It's unbelievable when celebrities come and say, hey, talk to my wife and tell her this is good. I said, no, just talk to your accountant. And once you understand what's going on, you're going to be the first one on the plane down here. And I've seen that happen more and more. To me, Miami's the greatest city just because you have New York. It's very easy to hop up there. You have Latin America, you have the Caribbean, you have the weather. And now Miami, to me, the food is on par with New York. The lifestyle, obviously, and now having these the PAM, having these cultural hubs being set up here, and once again, the tax benefit, it's very hard for any entrepreneur to argue why they would be here, and the internet just made everything that much easier. So if you are running a business in another part of the world, you have access. So outside of the fiscal stuff, I do love Miami. I love the people, the melting pot, and the culture, but the easiest way to get conversion,
Well, and the interesting thing, and Gil Desert had a great answer to this too, which goes right in line, is you have the money, you have the weather, you have the tax benefits, you have all that, the lifestyle. But now what's happening in Miami as well with Louis Bergman's 1000 Museum or other projects, we now have the properties. You mentioned Dora Puig and what she does, or Nelson Gonzalez, and some of these properties that are being built that they represent that are just spectacular. That great, everything else is great, but now we have also the properties that they want to be living in as well. Now, you guys do some amazing things with creating these over-the-top experiences, almost like experiences that money can't buy. What are your top 2 experiences that you've done?
Well, just even thinking of some of the recent stuff, I mean, just in this calendar year, because I feel that we live almost in a fairy tale, but for the Grammys, which just happened in February, we did a luncheon with Louis XIII, and they create a cognac that's 100 years old. So they partnered with Pharrell, and they created a song that would be released in 100 years with the next round. So being able to do the Grammys with Pharrell, and the following day we had Quincy Jones, which we partnered up with Rolls-Royce, and Quincy that Sunday at the Grammys became the living artist with the most Grammys.
Wow.
So to be able to sit down with 25 people, and we had the Super Bowl champ Jay Ajayi to Scottie Pippen, a lot of great minds in an intimate setting, and that was just in Super Bowl and the Grammys, and then in the Super Bowl, Atlanta musicians were snubbed, and that was a big thing. So our team, we got together with Ludacris and hosted a 25-person dinner where he curated T.I., Young Jeezy, Jermaine Dupri, Will Packer, all the big names in a 35-person dinner experience that we partnered with Louis XIII. So all of these money can't buy experiences. I was like, as you mentioned, now you live in a great building, you're living in the greatest city. So now we're giving an extension of the greatest things to do. Food and Wine Festival, I happen to love it. Lee Schrager's a dear friend. But for that consumer in that $30 or $20 million unit, they may not want to go and stand in line even at the best of the best and that. So we've done, for example, with Nobu, where he would do a 40-person omakase where he did 17 dishes that weren't on his menu. Wow. And did a tasting menu for 40 of our collectors. And we partnered with Hublot and brought their top collectors and some of the philanthropists that we like. And Nobu was there cooking, creating an experience, and it was such a success. Our client said, hey, can we do this in Beverly Hills? Can we do this in other markets? Because that's Nobu has 75 venues for him to come and cook and do that. That's not something he's actively doing, but for the respect of our platform and what we've done over the years with him, he was kind enough to create that. And I said, hey, Louis, if you have a client, or you have a resident and they don't want to go to a mass event, we're going to give a solution on their app where they go and say, hey, these are upcoming events. my interests are wine, fashion, and so forth, and saying, hey, there's a 30-person, 40-person, ultra curated event to give you access to. And we have a 24-hour concierge on the app. We have preferred pricing if you need a plane, a heavy jet, or just one seat via JetSmarter. If you need a boat, from a yacht to that. So we have different partners that we've worked with over the years to give that value to our members, but the core offering is in our key cities, giving them access the night before the Super Bowl. So the Super Bowl this year, we also, after Ludacris, we did a dinner with Jim Brown, Ed Too Tall Jones, and he brought all the legends, and we raised some money for his foundation and partnered up with Rolls-Royce. So you get to eat with the legends and then it's and then we mixed it up and brought Migos, which is a big pop culture hip hop band. And this Saturday night we did a 40-person dinner with Migos. So partnering with the top tier brands also for real estate helps our partners, because Rolls-Royce will say, hey, we need 18, 16 seats because we're inviting our clients, our active clients. Sure. So obviously those guys are pre-qualified, or typically they spent $1 million in cars or that. So we're also always getting fresh blood by tying in luxury brands. I said, hey, I have a guy, there was an NFL player that signed a $50 million deal, and he bought $400,000 of Louis XIII for all of his teammates. His agent approved it, which I thought was a little crazy. Yeah. But, these types of instances happen, and, we're putting those types of experiences together.
Well, we have our company, my brokerage related ISG, has One Star Island, which is the guest home for Emilio and Gloria Stefan. So if you ever need a venue in Star Island, let me know. Yeah, we're your guy. Obviously, we have to run it by them. Yeah. But so let's do lightning round. One of my favorite parts of any interview. Your favorite social media platform: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or YouTube? Instagram. One daily practice any entrepreneur, real estate or not, should be doing to get better every day.
Well, I believe more than one daily practice. I do believe fitness is key. Yeah. Meditation is key. And doing that. And for me, I always try to identify 10 things as an entrepreneur that would help our business, that, hey, let me knock this out. It may not feel like the thing that I want to do right now, but I said if I could gauge 10 productive things that I hammered out every day, in addition to my routine, it ends up compounding and saying, okay, wow, we got to the next level. Okay. So I mentally kind of just try to do that and say, hey, Saturday I feel a little sluggish, I feel that, but hey, I reached out to this person, I got this rolling, or I did this, and I try to tap into non-traditional tasks that I would have to do. Crazy thing, on Saturdays, we interviewed a lot of billionaires, and I actually use that day, or a Saturday or Sunday when they're not crazy or busy or on a religious sort of hiatus, I reach out to them then, because I know it's quieter, it's not that they're in the office doing that. So I said, okay, I reached out to these 4 people and I got these, things in motion. And so I just kind of look at the ebb and flow of time and trying to think of when we could go in and, be a little bit more aggressive and then pull back.
I love it. In one sentence or less, what's your definition of ultimate luxury? And this is by Mike Tams, a mutual friend of ours. He's like, you got to ask him about ultimate luxury.
To me, time is the ultimate luxury. So being able to create systems that afford you the time to spend more time with your family and things you would like to do. To me, that's a one commodity you can't buy, but you could create more time for yourself by creating the right business processes and systems where, to me, the ultimate luxury would be spending that type of time with my family.
Do you think that's a common denominator among the celebrities and the entrepreneurs?
It's funny because we are, and the reason one day I saw something that said I wrote time is ultimate luxury on Facebook, and I got great feedback. Sure. So I reached out. I was able to get the Instagram name, the trademark, and I said, hey, at one point, I want to see what people's ultimate luxury. So at the end of our different interviews, we would say, hey, David Guetta, or Rick Ross, what's your ultimate luxury? So my ultimate luxury is being on that jet to Greece, but not only being on that jet, being with my family and the ones I love. Knowing that, hey, where I started and this is where I got to. So, and some people think art is their ultimate luxury, but when it comes down to me, time is, the one thing you can't buy.
Do you have kids?
Not yet.
Not yet. Got it. All right. I have 4.
Oh, congratulations.
I have 20, and they're all boys. 21.
Oh, wow.
12 and 9-year-old twins.
Wow.
Something we'd be surprised to know about you.
I love playing chess. That's probably one of my favorite pastimes and hobbies, and I've been a chess player since I was a kid, and I find that It helps me relax as well as with anticipatory thinking. So as we're thrown hurdles with business, and I feel that the more chess I played, the more I could see what the options are, or I think things out, you know, a few layers deeper from playing chess, and the fact that we're out all the time socializing in the social media, but I actually just as much, if not more, I'm happy to be at home in sweats.
Yeah,
you know,
I love it. I wear a suit. I'd rather be in Lululemon every day. Like that. I love Lululemon. All right, last question: book, podcast, or TED Talk recommendation for the audience?
I love a mental coach by the name of Jim Fannin.
Okay.
He teaches a lot on visualization, and I ran into him over the years, and I would always pick up stuff from him on just visualizing what my future should be, or what, and the tips and tricks that he does I found have been great. We have deep admiration here at our company with Tony Robbins. We had him on the cover, and he invited us to his home, and just kind of understanding how that great mind thinks. So I like the sort of inspirational type, because I think no matter what you're going through your life, you could learn from a Tony Robbins or Jim Fannin and reset some things, or go deeper in other areas.
I don't think I've ever met anybody that's met Tony. What's Tony like in person?
He's a giant, but it was funny because we met him on a different. He loves watches, like he's one of the craziest collectors out there. So just kind of seeing how he kind of made it where he worked hard and he would reward himself with a watch. He would work hard, and just kind of seeing the psychology of how he kind of put that carrot out there. And now that he's built, himself into a billionaire, and he was teaching and training billionaires, but he manifested that for himself now. So it's just inspiring to be, to be around and even be able to produce content and know that someone at that level respects our brand for what it means in entrepreneurship or luxury. And, so it was a true honor. And Richard Branson, Steve Wynn, Sheldon Adelson, son of a cab driver, now
Wow.
top 5 wealthiest Americans out there. So,
all right, Kamal, thank you
very
so much, man. This was a true pleasure. Shout out to Louis Bergman from 1000 Museum. Shout out to my Indonesian friend Tams for setting this up. We were talking about connections. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them. Thank you guys. Thank you for watching. Any parting words before I go around the camera?
I'd like to thank my team for always taking us to the next level, and for all our real estate friends, please check out HauteResidence.com. Thank you.